Hey everybody, this is Mr. Haig. Welcome back to another episode of Mr. Haig's class, and I am beyond excited today. Here I present to you Mr. Maurice Limon. I'm
Hey,
gonna
man.
say Mr. Limon, okay. When we worked together, okay, Mr. Limon and I worked together at an amazing high school, Gladstone High School at Azusa, and we had a lot of fun working together. And I can say this: you are the best high school music teacher I've ever had the chance to work with. And I've worked with some good ones, but you just were amazing. And the things that you've introduced the students to and the connections you helped them make, it was just really marvelous to see them perform, and loved hearing your band play during halftime shows at football games. And so here we're going to kind of talk about, because you've inspired so many students, what does it take to have a career as an instrumentalist or maybe even a teacher or things like that? Just to know those, how can someone, you know, make a living in the music arts? And you also teach where at? You don't just teach high school anymore, right?
No, in fact, I teach very little high school. I'm a professor of music now at Citrus and Azusa Pacific, Rio Hondo, Mount Sac, Pasadena City College. Yeah,
Okay,
I
so
get around.
yeah, you're getting around for sure. So these are mostly, but these are community colleges.
And one private university.
Okay, what do you see the difference between community and high school?
Well, community college is like I highly advocate for community colleges for most musicians, especially unless you've been taking like private lessons your entire life. If you're coming up and interested in a career in music, I really push students to start at one of our very, very successful community colleges. We're probably super fortunate, one of the most fortunate communities that we have so many prestigious and high quality junior colleges in the area with music programs that are flourishing and sending people out into the real world doing amazing things. So it's more than just one, you save a lot of money, especially if you're trying to get a degree, which is an end goal for many people. But two, it is an amazing step from like what you did in high school before you get to the rigors of university life, and then further on learning the ropes. And
Oh,
it's advantageous for a multitude of reasons beyond building a network. Because as a professional musician, if you only go to one school, like let's say you go directly from high school to USC, let's say it's a coveted school for music,
mhm. Yeah.
you're only going to have that USC network. But if you go to, let's say, Citrus or Pasadena City College or whatever, and you do your thing there, and then you go to USC, now you have two networks of people that you've played with, doubling and exponentiating your potential to make income later because you have a multitude of networks to draw from as opposed to just one. So that's several reasons why I say that it's advantageous to do junior college.
Okay, so then go to junior college, make those connections, build your network,
Absolutely.
and then go to a 4-year prestigious music school like USC, I guess, if you can afford it.
Yeah, USC is just one of many. I mean, and I tell people there's no, I mean, I don't recommend a lot of people go to USC as undergrads, because it's a different vibe. But if your goal is to become a professional musician, really the things that you need the most of are like beyond skills, because obviously you need to be a skilled musician in order to work. But the things that you need are like, who are the people that you're learning from, is what I always tell people. Like, who are you going to study with on your instrument? So you're going to a school. Your idea should be you're going to a school not for necessarily the name of the school, because out in the industry, nobody ever asks me when I'm at a gig what school I went to. They
Hmm.
just listen. That's it.
Yeah,
Can you play or can you not? No
yeah,
one's on
right.
stage going, and from USC, like no one does that, so it's kind of like, really, who are you going to learn from? Like, so who are the teachers at that school, and are they doing the stuff that you want to do? So that's something to think about for future musicians, is like, who am I going to go learn from? And then the second thing is, I already mentioned, who are you going to learn with?
Hmm.
Like, the people that I still to this day, like, I've gone to a multitude of universities, but I still gig with the people that I was in high school with, playing with. I still gig with the people that I went to junior college with. I still gig with the people that I went to get my undergraduate. I still gig with the people that I went to my master's with, and I'm still gigging with the people that I did my doctorates with. So like, I have 5 networks that I draw from on the regular, and those are the it's really empowering at all different schools too to have networks from.
That's
So
fantastic.
yeah.
So take us from the very beginning. So when you were a kid, you just picked up a trumpet or a clarinet, whatever the case may be, and you had a certain vibe about that instrument. So What kind of like how did you know that you wanted to go into music?
Well, my answer is a little cliche. I fell in love with it, and then like I devoted all of my energy into it, and it became the thing that I was the best at. And then I just like continued to pour more and more of my eggs into that basket. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was, some people say it was the only thing that I was good at. I mean, I was good at a lot of things. I was a fine student, but it's just when you invest yourself into something is when you get to
So
become the
when you
best.
picked up that clarinet, you just kind of knew.
Yeah, I wanted to do the thing, and my career has evolved. I wanted to be a rock and roll star. That's what I wanted to be when I first started. And then of course, I went to school and I started studying music, and my path evolved. I became a teacher, which I became passionate about as well, and I'm still a performer, which I'm passionate about as well. So everybody's got a different trajectory, but it's all about being the best at what you are. And from the beginning, the best thing you can do is try to advocate for yourself to get some private individual instruction beyond the classroom,
Mm-hmm.
because that's really what being. You've probably heard, you mentioned starving artists, but you've probably heard that it's a competitive field out there.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, if you're in Los Angeles, this is one of the best places to live because there are plenty of gigs to go around. There are very few people that are fighting over gigs like you might in a smaller place, middle of the United States or smaller cities. Even if they're metropolitan, like Cincinnati, there's not nearly as many gigs as
Mm-hmm.
there are in Los Angeles. So to set yourself apart, being good and being good early will definitely help you get a cut above the rest. But if that's not your path and you're like me, who wasn't, I didn't go to a good high school music program. I didn't have a good music program to start with. So I started behind the eight ball, and I worked my way up once I realized, oh, this is what I should have been getting a long time ago. And that's why I went to junior college. I went to Pasadena City College, and that's where I really learned how to do a lot of what I did. And
Oh,
then
okay.
from there I shot up. But that's why I tell kids, if you want to be a serious performer, you're gonna start get lessons, because the people that will outplay you have been playing their instruments at a higher level for longer, and that's really all it is time on task. The more
Mm-hmm.
you spend on your instrument, the better you're going to get. And then they're just that far ahead of you in the marathon, and all you got to do is catch up, because eventually the asymptote starts to flatten out, and then if it's just who gets there first.
Mm-hmm. Now, are there musicians that are actually very wealthy musicians? I mean, obviously, we
Oh
know
yeah.
people who are, making or selling CDs and have record label contracts, but I'm talking about just the average person who plays like a gig at a wedding or at a bar mitzvah or any kind of, you know, party. Can they make a living doing this?
So can you make a living in Los Angeles? Absolutely. One, it's a huge metropolitan city. If you know how to network and you know how to sell yourself and you're good at a handful of things and you have a product that people want.
Mhm.
And I hired for my son's fourth birthday party, I hired four musicians, jazz combo, to play at my son's birthday party for 2 hours, and they each made $100 in 2 hours, which for them is a lot of money. But you stack that up. The best example I have is like, if you're a high school student, this is one of my high school students, from a previous generation of high school students. He played tuba, played really well, and he was in a family, and that family played in banda, and he got really good at that banda. And he is continuously, since he was about 16 years old, every weekend he pulls in about $1,200, because
Wow.
he gets paid $600 a gig, because he's good at what he does, because he started early at tuba and knows how to do the gig. And so he's highly coveted in the world of local banda. And
Hmm.
so even though he's not a megastar, you'll never have heard his name. You might not ever see him,
Hmm.
but from 16 until now, so he works, he gets day jobs because he's bored, but he's making 4 5 grand a month only working on the weekends. And so during the week, he's like,
That's awesome.
so he's not wealthy, but he's
Oh.
definitely, if he got a job, he could
Uh-huh.
definitely, if he got a 9 to 5 and worked 4 days a week or 3 days a week at whatever, made that money on top of the 5 grand he makes a weekend, he's doing all right, and the professional musicians that are out there in the world that stack their gigs, like for instance, like if you're doing recording, if you can get into the world of recording and you get your contracts right and you're a union musician, let's say you play a commercial. Like my wife played the NBA basketball theme. She just re-recorded that. And so every time you hear the piccolo on that theme, that's my wife playing. But you get you get what's called residual income. I'm sure you've heard of the concept
Mhm.
from acting, but musicians have similar contracts where when you record something, every time they play your sound, your own
Mhm.
individual sound, you can get income from that. So when my wife plays the Grammys, when my wife plays the Oscars, she'll play it, and if they air her music overseas, like 6 months later, she'll get this like magical check in the mail for another like 2 grand just because they have to pay them again for the money that they made on the re-airing of that. So
Mhm.
if you're lucky and you can make it big, like on a movie that gets popular or something, every time that movie makes money and gets back to the studio, they have to redistribute that to all the residual income. So if you stack those up over a course of time, there are lots of musicians in the world that you might not have ever heard of, but you've heard their sounds on movie scores, television shows, commercials, anime, you name it, video games, and they're making passive income because of how they've gotten their contracts up. Plus all the regular gigs. I mean, they never stop playing. So you go and you play
So it's
a
obviously how talented you are and who you know, and actually who knows you.
yeah, I mean,
Sounds
and
sounds familiar.
yeah, it's you got to be good. I tell these kids all the time. I tell my students, it doesn't matter much as long as you're one of the best. And
Hmm.
in LA, as long as you're one of the best, you're going to get gigs. People are going to hear about you. People are going to see you. People are going to like you. They're going to call you and they're going to hire
Hmm.
you and they're going to pay you. It's as simple as that.
Well, the fact that you're getting gigs means volumes. So how many instruments can you play?
All of them.
All?
No, I mean I'm a saxophone player by trade.
Uh-huh.
I play a lot of bass. I play a lot of percussion. I can play guitar. I wish I was a better piano player, but I haven't invested enough time into practicing piano. But I can play most of the wind instruments with reasonable accuracy. I'm a fair trumpet player.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I can play almost every instrument. And then as far as like really, really well at a high level, not as many as you would think. But I can sit down and play almost any instrument.
How about the harmonica? Can you do that?
Oh yeah, I can play harmonica.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I sat down one summer and I really just like took it apart and I figured out how to play harmonica because I really wanted to, and now it's just stuck with me.
And I think music is very essential. It just betters the brain. I mean, they're good students. I mean, musicians are typically good students. Would you say that?
Yeah, yeah, we have this conversation a lot, but I mean, obviously, there's tons of research to back that up. A lot of studies that show that students that have high quality musical training fare better in all other outside realms, where the opposite of that is not true. Math doesn't necessarily make somebody a better musician,
No.
but the opposite is true.
Yeah.
Music does tend to make people better, mathematicians and solve problems and all that stuff. Um, so yeah, it is a thing. There's a high correlation for that.
And is there one instrument that is more in demand than another? Or is there one instrument? I mean, I'm just curious.
No, that is a fair question, and I say this. It depends. So like, there are clause dependents. So
Mhm.
there's a bass hanging in my son's room since he was born because I've wanted to like inception him into this like
Mhm.
thought that if you play bass in general in the industry, in pop, jazz, rock, and even classical, good or great bass players are hard to come by and they're always necessary. So if you're a really good bass player, you'll get a lot of gigs because there are only a handful of really good bass players.
Really?
There are too many drummers and too many guitar players. Now that's in the pop and rock world.
Mhm.
If you're in the orchestral world, and
Mhm.
remember this is high quality, French horn, oboe, bassoon. If you play any one of those color instruments and you play it well, the chances are you're more likely to get called. And then if you play the violin well and you want to get in the classical world, the difference is the share of seats available. So in an orchestra, I'm sure you've noticed there's a ton of string players and
Mhm.
there's only a few woodwind and brass players. So like if you're a really good violin player, you have a better chance at getting one of those 25 chairs as opposed to being a really good flute player and getting one of those 2 or 3 chairs. You see how
Mhm.
the law of numbers kind of comes into play.
Now, can like a student, high school student, do they offer scholarships?
Oh
Uh,
yeah. If you play, especially if you play one of those color instruments that schools are always dying for, I give scholarships to the instruments that I need. I tell my students all the time, like, let people know. I give my students scholarships if they
uh,
bring me a musician that plays. So there's two scholarships. I give the kid, I go, hey, we need an oboe. If you guys bring me an oboe, I'll give you a scholarship and that kid a scholarship.
Really? So the oboe is kind of rare, but it's a very beautiful instrument.
It is a beautiful instrument. It's just, but because it tends to have a sharp learning curve at the beginning, so
Mhm.
few directors. I'm not saying that it's a hard instrument, but there is a sharp learning curve at the beginning,
Mhm.
kind of like the flute too, that prohibits or that makes people afraid of it. So really, you have to give oboe to like the fearless, brave kids, and like the ones who want to help, the ones
Mhm.
who are, and there's an aptitude for oboe. You know, it's a certain tone quality that's not everybody is used to in the world, and
Mhm.
so you kind of have to be into that squawky goose-like sound that can be very beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, and you're right. There's enough drummers out there. There's enough guitarists out there, and bass players out there. There's enough of those, especially in the rock world.
Yeah,
But I think that classical music is it's actually more popular than people think. It's really amazing. I mean, I listen to a lot of classic music, and of course, it's really soothing and doesn't really demand that much. And especially jazz. Do you play jazz, by the way?
of course
What
I do. Yeah.
music do you like?
I'm a a prolific chameleon. I love and listen to everything. My Spotify end of the year qualifications always goes, "We don't know what to call you. You're a unicorn." Uh,
Hold on a
bec
second.
yeah.
I hate that. I hate that sound. I'm going to cut that out. So backtrack a little bit. What were you saying?
Oh, I listen to everything.
Uh,
When I do my Spotify wrapped up at the end of every year, it's like you're a unicorn. We don't know what to call you because you don't listen to any one thing. Because I'm constantly scanning the world for new music, literally the world. But for as far as what I play, yeah, I mean, I'm classically trained as a saxophone player. That was my bachelor's, and then I spent a lot of time studying jazz, and that was my master's and my doctorate. And now I'm teaching a lot of jazz,
mhm.
and I'm highly advocate in jazz education, but I'm also a big advocate for classical music Western education. I'm also big into Latin. I have my own conjunto that I started where we play Latin, more Afro-Caribbean music. And I play in a lot of world bands. Like I play for these Persian artists that me and my wife gig with often that are from Iran, and they're really, really, really cool to play with. But so and that's a key. What's another key of being successful as a musician is you got to be versatile. Like I can sit down and play a concert score, a jazz score, a world score, and an Afro-Cuban score and know the difference
Hmm. And so, what about, have you ever experienced like people kind of telling you you want to be a musician? Seriously?
all
You,
the time.
still?
Yeah, I mean it's not as common anymore because we're a
No?
little bit more positive about choices and stuff, but
Well,
it's
how did you deal
still.
with it? How did you deal with that when people say, really? You want to be a sax player? Really? I mean, can you make a living? Are you going to be at the street corner with a can? I mean, what, you know?
Hey, there's something to that. I had another student who was a tuba player, and a tuba player, mind you, who could go out on a street corner and make $600 in a day playing tuba on the street corner. So there's something to that. Busking is not as bad as you think.
Uh,
But in any case, yeah, you get some flack from people who simply don't understand. Most people have an old school mentality thinking that you're going to be the starving artist, but what they don't understand is to the artist, it's worth it. Like what we call what makes some people happy is money and security, but what makes artists happy is art and
hmm
community and a sense of purpose and being. And as a musician, when you play at any level, your sense of purpose is fulfilled. I could play for a person walking down the street. I
hmm
could pay for a bar full of 10 people. I've played for the Kodak Theater full of 4,000 people. It's all the same feeling.
hmm
It's a sense of connectivity. And so that's what people have a hard time understanding. You're either an artist or you don't. You either like the thermostat set at 72 with the box around you, or you put a saddle on life and you ride it for all it's worth. And that's the difference between artists and non-artists. And it's really hard to convince a non-artist that it's worth doing the art, even if you don't have
But
amenities.
at the same time, you have to have a lot of faith in your destination, that you're going
Yeah.
to get there and that you're going to make a living and that you're going to entertain people. And I would, the old Jim Croce song, I have a song, and if it gets me nowhere, I go there proud.
Yeah.
I mean, that really spoke to me in so many ways. But I would imagine, and you obviously had that self-confidence that, you know what, I see myself successful.
Yeah. Yeah, I even my mom has a letter framed in her office literally stating that exact thing. Like, I know that it's scary, but
Hmm.
you just have to trust that I'm going to be successful. I wrote
Hmm.
that to her when I was 13. I was like, I'm going to do this.
Hmm.
And if it's scary to you, it's not scary to me. So you have nothing to worry about. I promise you, no matter what I do, which right now is music, I'm going to be the best at it. And she framed it because, and then like, I hope to think that that's come true because, we live in a nice house. We support ourselves. We have a nice family. We have a strong standard of living, and we get to do art every day. That's the thing people don't understand is like we get to do art every day. That's such a privilege. There are people that go day in, day out and have no sense of purpose and no sense of belonging and no sense of community, and they're just cogs in a wheel. And I couldn't live my life like that. If I made $1 million and sat at a computer all day plugging numbers,
Hmm.
that wouldn't satisfy my life.
Do you get that satisfaction being a teacher?
Absolutely. I
Really?
love performing and teaching is a very similar high for me. It's a little, and teaching is a way longer game though, as I'm sure you know. Like you invest yourself hard sometimes and you don't win every gamble,
Oh.
but you double down, you put it all down sometimes and it does pay off, and that is purposeful living. That is living with a purpose.
Hmm.
And when those kids come back to you, I'm sure you know, we have relationships with our students from, now decades ago, and they still call us as if though we are their mentors, as if we are their brothers, their
Good
father
feeling.
figures.
I,
It's an amazing feeling.
I just think that, I mean, my goodness, of all the people who'd have that privilege of being called a mentor and have that maintain that relationship. I mean, you, because I just saw what you did to Gladstone. And I think we started around the same time, about 2018 or 2019, maybe
Mhm.
somewhere around there. And you took that program, which really wasn't in existence or didn't really go anywhere. And you turned it around to this unbelievable uh, program where those musicians were just so good. And I still have those videos.
It was fun, man. It's a project. It's a labor of love, and those Gladstone kids, I'm sure you remember, needed a lot of love, but that's sometimes
Yeah.
what it takes.
Yeah, I tell you. And then he went on to Duarte High School.
Yeah, I went on to Duarte, and it was a similar thing. Duarte was because you and I saw the writing on the wall was going on in Azusa, so I was like, I need to protect my family and my livelihood, and I was the last hired, so
Hmm.
I was like, I'm gonna take the
I'm still in
opportunity.
Azusa, so I'm
Right.
still here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a ride, but I have to say that for sure you're touching. I think you're the kind of guy who likes to touch lives, either musically or teaching. You believe in yourself, but at the same time, you transfer that belief to your students.
Yeah.
I think we
That's
all, I mean, that's the kind of teacher, what would you recommend to the student, the kind of teacher to look for?
somebody who's gonna invest in them, somebody who's got that faith. There is lots of different styles of teachers, so and
Hmm.
that's why for musicians what's cool about us is you can pay just about anybody for an hour of their time.
Hmm.
So another key to success that I tell kids is like, look, you might not know if you're compatible. You might think you want to study with that person,
Hmm.
but I encourage everybody that you go call them. It's easy to call anybody in LA and say, I will offer you whatever your hourly rate is to get an experience with you, and like just give me a one-off lesson, and you'll know within the first 5 to 10 minutes whether or not you're going to be compatible with this person.
Have you ever seen the movie Whiplash?
Yeah, that's a
Is
terrible
that is
movie.
that so you don't want to teach like that?
No, I mean, look, to be honest, there was moments in my life where I was like that, and I was like at Workman, and I wasn't always the nicest guy, but perhaps with my words, my intentions were always there,
Hmm.
but I didn't always say it the right way. I've got better. I've gotten more strategic, more tactful. I
Hmm.
don't aim to hurt people's feelings anymore. So sometimes we could be petty as humans to get results. And unfortunately, sometimes I was a little bit more petty than I'd like to uh to think now.
Hmm. Well, Mr. Limon, I have to say that this has been my pleasure. I've always admired your work, and I could have interviewed several music teachers along the way. But you always come to my mind because I just saw the transformation that your students have. And are they any success stories with your students?
Oh yeah, man.
Really good.
Yeah, it's a good feeling to watch my kids be successful and make something out of themselves in music or anywhere. I mean, they still parents and students will still come up to me. It's like, look, I know I'm not doing music anymore, but everybody loves me because of my work ethic that you taught me, or because of I've never shown up late to anything in my life because I'm still worried that somebody's gonna make me do push-ups.
I
So
think
like
that's
it
amazing. Well, Mr. Limon, it's been my pleasure. And of course, it was a pleasure working with you while we had.
likewise,
It
likewise.
was really good. I think you definitely transformed students' lives. And for whatever reason, I was very sorry when you left. And I thought that was a huge loss. But I know you had better things going on and you got a beautiful family. I had the pleasure of meeting your lovely bride. She was teaching the students at Gladstone.
Yeah, yeah.
And and your son is very adorable. And
Thank you.
anyways, definitely. So I just want all the students to know you look at Mr. Limon. So the answer is yes, you can make a very good, comfortable living as an instrumentalist and a musician. So with that being said, this is Mr. Haig's class. Great podcast. We will talk to you later with another special guest. Take care.